The basement was my haven, a place of solace. I relished the quiet hum of the water heater, the musty scent of old cardboard boxes, the cool, damp air that clung to my skin. It was my sanctuary, a place where I could escape the noise and chaos of the world above. I spent countless hours down there amidst my tools and forgotten treasures, lost in projects and peaceful contemplation. My workbench, bathed in the warm glow of a single fluorescent light, was my command center. I'd lose myself for hours, tinkering with an old radio, restoring a vintage lamp, or simply sorting through my grandfather's collection of antique tools. The basement, with its exposed beams and rough concrete floor, felt like a connection to the past, a tangible link to my family history. I felt safe within its walls, cocooned in a world of my own making. I never imagined this haven, this place of comfort, could become a source of terror. But on a Thursday night, everything changed. It was a Thursday like any other. Rain lashed against the basement windows, a steady drumming that usually lulled me into a peaceful trance. I was engrossed in restoring an antique clock, its intricate gears spread out before me on the workbench. I inhaled the scent of old wood and metal, the familiar aroma comforting and familiar. The clock's chime mechanism was missing a few key parts, and I was determined to bring it back to life. As I worked, the house above was silent. My wife was away on a business trip, and a strange, unfamiliar stillness hung in the air. I finished soldering a connection and reached for my multimeter when the lights flickered. A wave of unease washed over me. It was a minor inconvenience, a momentary disruption in my otherwise predictable routine, but something felt different this time. The air felt heavy, charged with an unseen energy. Then, with a final agonizing flicker, the lights went out, plunging me into absolute darkness. The sudden darkness was disorienting. The familiar sounds of the house faded, replaced by an oppressive silence. I reached out, my hands blindly searching, my heart pounding. The air was thick and heavy, as if the darkness were alive. I stumbled back, knocking over a toolbox. Metal tools clattered against the concrete floor. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I was frozen, paralyzed by fear. The darkness felt sentient, aware of my presence. I could feel my pulse throbbing in my ears, and then I heard it. A soft, shuffling sound from the darkest corner. The shuffling grew louder, closer. I strained my ears, trying to identify the source of the noise, my heart pounding against my ribs. Fear, primal and consuming, seized me. I could feel my senses heightening, every nerve ending on high alert. The musty basement smell intensified, morphing into something rancid, something alien. And then I saw them. 2 pinpoints of light glowing in the pitch black like embers in a dying fire. Eyes, watching me. They flickered in the darkness, their owner concealed by the impenetrable shadows. Panic surged through me, raw and unfiltered. I stumbled back, my foot catching on a loose floorboard. I fell, crashing onto the cold concrete, the air knocked from my lungs. The eyes didn't move. They remained fixed on me, burning into me, filled with a cold, malevolent intelligence. Scrambling to my feet, I ran. I didn't look back. I burst out of the basement door, slamming it shut behind me. My chest heaved, my lungs burning as I struggled to catch my breath. The sudden transition from the oppressive darkness to the dimly lit hallway was jarring. I fumbled for the light switch, bathing the room in the warm glow of the overhead fixture. The familiar surroundings of my home, usually a source of comfort, seemed alien and unsettling. The shadows in the corners seemed to writhe and dance, taking on sinister shapes in my fear-addled mind. Sleep was impossible. I tossed and turned, my mind replaying the events in the basement. The memory of those glowing eyes seared into my brain. Every creak of the house, every rustle of wind against the windows sent shivers down my spine. I tried to rationalize what I had seen, to explain it away as a trick of the light, a figment of my overactive imagination. But deep down I knew the truth. Something was down there. Something evil. Daylight brought little comfort. The events of the previous night hung over me like a shroud. The basement, once my sanctuary, now loomed over my thoughts. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, a combination of stress, fatigue, and an overactive imagination. I'd always been a logical person, a man of science and reason. Yet the memory of those eyes, the feeling of being watched, was real. The rational part of me knew I had to go back down there, to face my fear. As the day wore on, the need to confront my fear gnawed at me. I couldn't live like this, cowering in my own home, haunted by shadows and unseen eyes. Armed with a heavy mag light, I slowly descended the basement stairs. Each step was a victory over the terror that threatened to consume me. The air was heavy with the familiar musty scent, but there was something else now, something subtly different, something acrid and unsettling. The light from my flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing the familiar clutter of my workshop. Everything seemed to be in its place, almost. It was then that I saw them, tiny handprints barely visible in the thin layer of dust on the concrete floor. They were small, child-sized, and they led away from the darkest corner of the basement, the corner where I had seen the eyes. A chill ran down my spine, sending goosebumps erupting across my skin. These weren't my handprints. I followed the trail of handprints, my heart pounding in my ears. They led me past my workbench, past my grandfather's old tools, deeper into the shadows that clung to the far end of the basement. My flashlight beam danced across the rough-hewn stone foundation, revealing nothing but cobwebs and dust. The air grew colder. The oppressive silence was broken only by the sound of my own ragged breathing. I stopped at the edge of the beam of light, hesitant to venture further into the darkness. I could feel it again, that sensation of being watched, of being hunted. Then a soft giggle, barely audible, echoed from the darkness. It was high-pitched, childlike, and filled with a chilling innocence that sent shivers down my spine. I swung the flashlight beam around, desperately searching for the source of the sound, but there was nothing there. The laughter came again, closer this time, and I could feel the blood drain from my face. Something was toying with me, something unseen, something evil. Panic surged through me, threatening to overwhelm my senses. My grip tightened on the maglite, my knuckles turning white. I wanted to run to escape the suffocating darkness and the unseen terror that lurked within it, but my feet felt rooted to the spot, frozen by a fear so profound it transcended rational thought. The giggling continued, echoing off the basement walls, each chilling peal amplifying my terror. I couldn't take it anymore. With a strangled cry, I turned and ran, scrambling back towards the safety of the basement stairs. The laughter followed me, growing louder, closer, as if the unseen entity was pursuing me, reveling in my terror. I didn't stop running until I slammed the basement door shut behind me, the sound echoing through the silent house. I leaned against the door, my chest heaving, my body trembling uncontrollably. The laughter from the basement continued for a moment, then faded, leaving behind an eerie silence that was somehow more terrifying than the sound itself. I knew then that I could never go back down there. The days that followed were a blur of fear and paranoia. I avoided the basement at all costs, sealing the door shut with a heavy padlock. The memory of that night, of the eyes, the handprints, the chilling laughter, haunted my waking hours. Nightmares plagued me, vivid and terrifying, each one a variation on the same theme. The silence of the basement was deafening. It was the silence of anticipation, of something lurking just beyond the veil of darkness. The silence permeated the entire house, seeping into every corner of my life. The terror I had experienced had left an indelible mark on my soul. I haven't been back in the basement since that night. I can't bring myself to face the darkness that awaits me down there. The silence is a constant reminder of what I saw, of what I heard, of what I know is still down there, lurking in the shadows. Sometimes, late at night when the house is quiet, I hear noises coming from the basement. Soft scratching sounds, faint whispers, and that chilling, childlike laughter echoing up through the floorboards, sending shivers down my spine. I know I can't ignore it forever. One day I'll have to confront whatever evil lurks in the darkness beneath my feet. But until then, I am trapped, living in a prison of my own fear, haunted by the unseen horror that has claimed my sanctuary as its own.